application. Goden Street Incorporated, Kevin Train manager, has applied for an all-alcoholic beverages restaurant license currently held by Ton Venture Group LLC, doing business at Hit Wicket at 1172 Cambridge Street. Current license is issued as a 1 a.m. license, and the applicant is applying to operate from 11 a.m. to 1 a.m. Sunday through Wednesday, and 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. Thursday through Saturday, with a seating capacity of 72 and total occupancy of 99. The applicant is also applying for an alteration of premise and an entertainment license to include live music with amplification for a one-person band, radio music that can be played below, at, or above conversation level, and 8 TVs.
Good evening.
Madam Chairman, Kevin Trainer, Commissioner.
If you could spell your name for the record, please.
T-R-E-A-N-O-R.
Good evening, Attorney Tiffany Stitchell for the applicant. That's TiffanyStichel.
If you could tell us what you're proposing.
Yes, I just want to give you a bit of a history with me in Inman Square. I'm in the business 25 years. I lived on the West Coast for a few years, and then I moved here in '93 to help the guys that own the Druid, which is still there, but different owners now, to help open the Druid. And there I was working there, and I joined McCabe, who's here tonight. And we decided to open our own place in Central Square called the Pheonix Landing. I now currently own 4 restaurants. I own Trinity in Norton, Hugh O'Neill's in Norton, and I own the Merchant in Downtown Crossing in Boston. I came across this location. It's called Hit Wicket. I actually am part of the neighbourhood. I own the building across the road at 1099, which is 2 retail spaces and 4 apartments. So I know the neighbourhood very well. My proposal is to put in a modern gastro pub. I brought in a designer who designed the Merchant and also Eastern Standard and the Legal Seafoods name its design. The plan is, I believe you have some pictures, is to put a new entrance on Cambridge Street. Put a new entrance in here. The room is split up. The bar is here right now. So this would be a new entrance coming in here, and this would be the main focal, the big room, which seems to be totally divided up from the smaller room. It's 72 seats. I'll give you a copy of the menu. It'll be a modern gastro pub, serving food late from 1:30 on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. I know there is some other bars in the neighbourhood that have the 2 o'clock. That's why I applied for the 2 o'clock. I know that might be contentious. Regarding the Pheonix Landing, we have won numerous awards. Boston Magazine, the last 3 years, we won Best Sports Bar, Best Irish Bar, Best Sports Bar. We voted one of the top bars in America. I think we've helped out at least 50 or 60 charities during our time at the Pheonix Landing. And I'm especially connected to an organisation called Tutoring Plus, where my partner is on the board of directors. So what I'm saying is, we work with the neighbourhood. I actually found that right up from the Chronicle 20 years ago, which I just showed the fire chief. So we've been part of the Cambridge neighbourhood for 23, 24 years. And I think I'm going to enhance that block with this new gastro pub. And you can see the pictures. This is the materials I'm going to use. And basically what I'm reaching out to, a lot of people in hospitality have nowhere to eat after they finish work at 11 or 12 o'clock. So I think there's a need for people to have a late night menu, which we are doing down in the Merchant right now. We serve the food at 1 o'clock every night, even though we're down in the financial area. I know there's a lot of young professionals all around there, and families. So I think it's going to be a really cool gastro pub. That's what I'm trying to put in, good food.
received several emails, letters, etc. from neighbors, both in support and in opposition. And they will certainly have the opportunity to be heard this evening. But I would like to ask, how would you address their concerns as it relates to neighborhood noise?
Well, the noise is, we're building the bar along the side of Tremont Street. So those actual windows will be blocked in, blue lats. If you could see this blue lats in the front, it's like a design from a pub in London we've seen. And so there won't be any sound emulating out from that area. So Tremont Street is pretty much covered. We're going to open up the windows on the front. They will be certainly closed after 9 o'clock. We will be doing all construction, so we'll make sure that everything's soundproof. Our landlord's here today as well. He is actually, he's doing extensive redevelopment on his property above us. So we've already talked about the soundproofing, and we will certainly make sure that there's no noise emanating up to the apartments above. I see this as a hangout pub. People are getting away from the live music, dance places, you know, it's more like hanging out. I think there's enough young people that like to stay out to 2 o'clock in the morning. And I think it's going to be a really cool spot, and it's going to enhance the neighbourhood. And I'm already part of the neighbourhood, and it's in my interest to put something in there that's going to bring the neighbourhood up further.
So is the present seating capacity 72?
We're keeping the capacity at 99, including staff. So I'm not exactly sure what they had on this in the seating. It's pretty similar, but in a different setup, of course. They had the bar on the smaller side, which we see a 22-seater on that side, which could be used as private parties for, you know, private events. We're certainly going to show some sports, and it's just going to be about 20 draft beers, 20 selections of bottled beers, and just basically a gastro pub like the modern gastro pubs they have in New York and all around Boston right now.
I know you've also asked for live entertainment. Where would that fit at in terms of this floor plan?
I was thinking, you know, it would be after maybe on. I actually maybe move one of these tables at the window on the front, or either on the back here. Could move these two tables out on the nearest to the entrance to the kitchen, somewhere in that region there.
Where would you locate them?
Oh, there's a huge basement.
Okay.
Yeah, there's tons of room downstairs. The basement is actually the full size of the.
Okay. And you have interior access to the basement.
There's two entrances from the bar to the basement.
Thank you.
So if you had the live entertainment in the front, do you think that would present a noise issue for the neighborhood?
Well, I wouldn't have them plugged in. It'd be more acoustic, and I haven't really. I'm hoping not to go down that road if I don't need to.
No, I know in the file I didn't see that there was sign off from zoning as it related to live entertainment. Do you have sign off from
There's
zoning?
sign off for one person, but not for any more.
Do you have the signed form? Because again, it wasn't in the file. I don't
Oh, well,
recall seeing it.
I don't know. I got Christopher actually went in and did a sign. He told me that I could apply for it. So I'm not sure,
Okay.
but I will double check on that. If it's not available, that's not a problem.
Do you have any questions?
Well, there's a little bit of difference when you read in terms of live entertainment include, you know, amplification, one person versus acoustic is probably big.
Okay, I will.
I'm just,
Yeah, I understand. I have to find out about the sign off on that. I said to Christopher if he would find out what I could apply for.
Questions?
So so is your plan to have just acoustic live entertainment, or you're going to have amplified music inside the restaurant?
Well, my plan was just to have just no entertainment unless I do some session on a Sunday or something. But I'd rather I'd take that out if that's the problem. I just do music over amplification.
So that music, would that be at or below conversational level, or?
Well, I would say after a certain time, above conversation after 11 maybe.
So it'd be above or below?
Above.
Above,
Below up till 11. So we put in the late night menu.
and then you'd raise the
Just
amplification?
slightly,
That sounds almost backwards. So wouldn't you want to lower the sound, say at 11 o'clock?
No, I was hoping to bring in some younger people after 11. They come out after 11. Families from 5 to 11.
I would venture to guess that's not going to go over well with the neighborhood, but I will hear from them.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to hear from neighbors and then get back to it?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay. So, if I can ask you guys to just maybe scoot over to the side, and I'd like to be able to hear from the neighbors.
Okay.
Can I ask for the abutter notification?
I did give them to your Ellen in the office. It was like 20. There was only 5 on the list, but I actually sent out 20 of others. So,
When did you do that? Recently?
yeah.
I have the receipts, I don't have the
Well, that's the receipt I sent.
No, the green cards.
What for you? I'm not sure.
They would come back to you.
I didn't get any green cards, but it was just receipts for registered mail, and I get
Okay.
them down.
Okay. So I'd like to open it up for public testimony. I'm going to work my way, anyone standing up first, and then work my way first row back. Everybody gets 2 minutes or less. If you've heard something that one of your neighbors have previously said, ditto would be wonderful. So I will start with people standing first, please.
Michael Crawford is my name.
Please have a seat. If you could spell your first name and last name, please.
Michalcrawford. I own the Druid in Inman Square, and I've known Kevin for about 23 years since he helped open the Druid with the previous owners. And I think what he has in mind for the neighbourhood would be fantastic. It'd be great to have a gastro pub. Inman Square needs something like that. I think it'd bring more people in, and be great for the neighbourhood.
Thank you. Would you like to speak first?
My name's Nathan Neal, N-A-T-H-A-N-N-E-E-L. I live on 79A Tremont Street. I've lived there for over 30 years. We've had a terrible experience there for many years with a 2 a.m. closing license. I don't know anyone that's in favor of it. We don't want loud entertainment, any entertainment after late at night. Inman Square on the side of Prospect Street where the Druid is a very different place from our side. This is a residential street. The houses are 4 deep between Tremont Street and Prospect Street. There's a lot of people living there. You wouldn't know it just to drive down Tremont Street. We've had enough disruption here. We have too many restaurants. We have too many bars in our neighborhood. There's no place to park. The people leave the bars late at night, yelling and screaming, doing all kinds. What we really, once we got rid of the notorious Night and Day Lounge, what we had there was restaurants with a bar. Now it appears we're going in the direction of a bar with a restaurant. I hope that's not true. And I just want to say once again, no 2 a.m. no 2 a.m. closing, please.
Thank you. Next.
Yes. My name is Chris Kourtidis, Kourtidis. I'm actually the owner of the property. I've owned the property since '94. I had my own restaurant at one time there from '96 to '99. It was a Greek restaurant. I've had 2 tenants since then. Fortunately, the last tenant The cricket theme restaurant didn't do as well as the previous owners wanted to, so had a chance to meet with Kevin, seen his operation. He being also a restaurateur, he runs a very good restaurant establishment at his two locations that I visited, and I just hope that he does well. So,
Thank you. Good evening.
Hi. Good evening. Ashley Serrata, ASHLEY SEROTTA. I live at 84 Tremont Street. I'm not sure if I'm considered an abutter. I'm 2 doors down. I received no notification, no contact from the applicants. To reiterate, I am in favor of a new restaurant actually surviving in this location. We need it. The foot traffic since it has been gone has been terrible in terms of who loiters out front. So we'd like to see a healthy restaurant thrive there. I am not in favor of a 2 a.m. license. I am not in favor of any noise above conversation level at any hour. We have a daycare next door to the building, across the street from the building. We have a lot of residents over here. I'm not in favor of any performance that's amplified.
Thank you. Is there anyone else standing who would like to come? No? Okay, we'll go to the first one.
My name is Hardy, Hardey, Halpern, Halpern. I live at 73 Tremont Street and have since 1982. I don't know if the present police commissioner was involved with the department back when the night and day lounge was there, but it was a war zone. Every Friday and Saturday night when the place closed, the problem wasn't the noise by soundproofing the building, the problem was the noise created by the people who left the building drunk at that hour and decided to have fights, decided to throw bottles, decided to defecate on people's front porches. It's unacceptable. We were here multiple times to fight there at 2 a.m. and I am totally opposed to a 2 a.m. license, and I do not think Inman Square needs a gastro pub. We have plenty of bars that sell plenty of food. We do not need another bar bringing more people and more people drinking into a residential area that has children and residents who do not want to be woken up every Friday and Saturday at 2 a.m. Thank you.
Before you leave, can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Thank you. First, you said you're opposed to a 2 a.m. Would you be opposed if the hours were decreased? Not saying that that's on
I'm
the
opposed to
table.
having another bar in our
Okay.
neighborhood, but the 2 a.m. is totally unacceptable. If you lived on that street, you wouldn't even consider this. If you knew what it was like when the day and night, with night and day were there, was
Okay.
there.
Thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Maureen O'Neill, MAUREN, O''Neil. I live in Inman Square, and I've been a resident in Inman Square for 6 years, but in Cambridge for about 24. I've known Kevin Trainer and his current partner for over 20 years. And I'm here to support his license application and everything he's sort of looking for. I've spent a lot of time at the restaurants and the bars in Inman Square, and I can understand hearing some of the other people, something that happened 20 or 30 years ago, or even 10 years ago, is not Inman Square that I know, and where I spend most of my time at the different restaurants and the different bars, and I feel like maybe there's the neighbors think this is going to be a bar, but it's a restaurant where people my age, single people, married people, young people, old people, can walk down the street and have a drink and meet their friends and have dinner or watch a game. So I wanted to come here and support Kevin's efforts and have that be on the record.
Thank you.
Hello, Chairman, Chief, Commissioner. My name is Joseph Thomas McCabe, J-O-S-E-P-H, Thomas, M-C-C-A-B-E. I'd like to start by saying I met Kevin Trainer 26 years ago when I came to help build the drill as the construction team. Then I met Kevin, we hung out for a while, then he became the manager of the drill, which in turn I stayed on. I was going to head off, but I stayed around and worked there for a few years with him. From there, we went, as he said, opened the Pheonix Landing. We've been there 20 years and it speaks for itself in that way. But I'm actually here to back up his integrity and his honour. If he says he's going to do this, he will do this. I mean, we've done business for 25 years together. We've owned college bars in Boston, where, I mean, there's nothing harder than to own a college bar, especially in BC area. And we ran it for 17 years. And when we did finally close it just a year and a half ago, the mayor congratulated us on doing a fantastic job. You gentlemen might remember as the park back in the 70s and 80s, it was supposed to be a disaster. We took it 17 years and ran it for 17 years. Excellent. We think we're doing a great job. But getting back to Kevin Trainer's ability to run these places and what he says will happen. He's not just trying to get the license, get in business and da-da-da. His record speaks for itself. You know, he's number 10 bar in America. He keeps winning the best of Boston. The mayor of Boston invited him down to help reinvent that square there where the spy lanes is. You know, this sort of stuff.
Downtown Crossing.
Yeah, you know, I live here in Cambridge. I haven't left Cambridge in 25 years. I don't bother too much in Boston. Inman Square, I lived there for 6 years, over to 1369. It's a bit small for me. Central Square suits me better. That's where I live down that end now. But we know the neighbourhood. We met our wives there. Our children were born here. Our children go to school here at Bringe and Latin. It's not like we're in to make something and get out. You know, we do know our stuff, and this man, I'm just here to filter his integrity and his honesty to the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
I'm Olivia Peters. It's OLIVIAPETERS. I live at 8890 Tremont Street. We're the property that would directly abut the back of the gastro pub. And I'm here in general to speak in support of his concept. I feel like he's trying to open a little bit of a classier establishment than the previous one that people were pretty upset about. In general, we're most excited about the concept of a sports bar, somewhere that you can go in that will actually have all of the games and all of the channels. We currently are big sports fans, Steelers fans, Giants fans.
I won't hold that against you.
I was like, should I even say it? But my boyfriend's originally from Syracuse, so Syracuse basketball games, stuff like that has just traditionally not been accessible to us in Inman Square. We need to take our business to Somerville, either up to Old Magoon Saloon or to Parlor Sports or elsewhere. So
Or switch to be a Patriots.
we were very excited to hear that there's a concept looking to open that would offer us something that Inman Square does not already offer. Personally, we have no use for an entertainment license. I don't think that's something that necessarily jives with how we would see our patronage of this establishment. And kind of the same with the 2 a.m. license. Honestly, we're up at 4 or 5 in the morning every day, so the difference between 1 and 2 closing is negligible to us, but I can completely see why people would be anxious about a 2 a.m. closing. But in general, this is something to us that brings a lot of value to our neighborhood, and it's something that we don't currently have.
And you're a direct abutter.
I'm a direct abutter. We actually share an alleyway, separated
I
by
was there
pink.
this morning, so I just wanted to make sure I understood. So the house right there on the other
pink
side.
house on the other side of the little chain link fence. So right now, we don't see too much trouble with. I'm not anticipating trouble with the neighborhoods. Right now, we actually share with Hit Wicket, and they probably create more noise by having nothing to do and being constantly out. When they were up, but constantly out in the alley smoking cigarettes and playing basketball because they didn't have much business. So yeah, we see the ups and downs. We can see the increased noise and people maybe sitting on our front steps. But I think in general, I've talked to the other owners in the building, and in general, we support this project because we feel like the value of having a sports establishment outweighs the possible disruptions next door.
Perfect. Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to be heard?
And also, we did get an abutters notice.
Okay, very good.
We got the registered mail. I don't think we actually picked it up.
Okay.
Hi,
Hi, good evening.
I'm Jean Garrison, Jeanne, Garrison, Garrison. Live at 71 Fremont Street. And I won't read this, but I believe that you have a copy of this letter from my husband, Timothy Stein.
Yes.
So I don't need to read that into the record, right?
No.
It gets, yeah, okay,
Part of the
it's part of the package, okay. I'm primarily concerned about 2 a.m. and noise. There are a lot of bars in Inman Square, and people walking down Tremont Street on their way home are often noisy. And so I would ask that the board impose a 1 a.m. closing. I'm also a little concerned about, it's a family neighborhood, quite a bit now, young kids in the neighborhood, and daycare right across the street on the opposite corner of Tremont. So I'm not quite sure how that fits with, people who will be going and drinking starting at 11 a.m. Because the daycare will be in session and kids will be around. We have a lot of new bars in the neighborhood. Beef House Needs is in, and there's a Hops and Scotch. These places serve food, but they're also, seems to me, primarily bars. And so 50 draft beers sounds like a lot of beers, and I'm assuming that this is also a liquor license for all types of alcoholic beverages. Is that true? Yeah. I love the Druid if it was going to be something like the Druid with a nice balance of food and alcohol. That would be nice. The more people have to drink, the louder they are going home. And if we could push that back to 1, that would be really preferable.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this matter?
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Stephen Michaels. That's Stephen Michaels. I live at 82 Tremont Street. I've been living there for 17 years. My concerns have been expressed to the commission in an email that I sent to Ms. Lint's attention yesterday. I just want to reiterate that my primary concerns are those about noise, especially late in the evening. And that includes the noise associated with dispersal of the crowd at closing time. Because if you have a crowd that has been in a bar with as many as 72 patrons and 8 television screens watching a sports event and drinking all evening, they are likely to be fairly noisy, and when they disperse, they will be dispersing down Tremont Street as well as down Cambridge Street. Inman Square is very poorly served with late night transportation, in terms of public transportation. So, and there's no parking to be had in the evenings around there because of the combination of very limited public lot and the residential permit area. So people are going to be dispersing by foot when the closing is, and I'm thus very concerned about a 2 a.m. closing. I'd like to see earlier. And I'm also concerned about the noise from amplified music as well. My other neighbors that have expressed concerns, I will go ditto with them as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Phoebe Leed, Phoebe, LED. And I've already written a letter objecting to the 2 AM license, but I just want to say that Mr. Trainer doesn't seem to understand the noise problems when he's talking about that you want to increase the noise after 11 because that's when the young people come in, and that he would want to serve more young people at that hour. That seems inconsiderate, and also there's a lot of talk about it being a sports bar, not being a gastropub. And since the Pheonix Landing has a pretty strong reputation as a sports bar, that's also quite a loud crowd, so I would be against any late night activity of that sort either. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Timothy Warner, Dr. Timothy Warner. I'm here in support of Mr. Trainer. I've known Kevin since 2003. He's a successful business owner, as Joe McCabe clearly pointed out. He runs very high standard establishments. I want to point out that the fact that he is a member of the community would make it so that he would want to do better by the community that he's going into. So some of the concerns that the neighbors are pointing out, it would be in his best interest to take care of as a member of the community. And I have complete faith in the fact that he will be able to work with the neighbors and listen with the neighbors as he has on his successful bars. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Bob McCallum,
Bob, spell your name.
MCCALLUM. I'm a friend of Kevin Trainer's. I'm here to support him today. I live on Ellsworth Ave, near Cambridge, Inman Square. And, you know, I have frequented Kevin's establishments with my family on numerous occasions. I've never experienced any, issues or concerns. Kevin runs a reputable business, proven over the years. And if I, as a neighborhood member, I feel that, we need someone like Kevin in the neighborhood. I guess I have a hard time driving through there, seeing a lot of these vacant buildings. And I think Kevin brings a lot to the community. He's proven it over the years. And I feel that he's earned, to have this establishment set up how he'd like to establish it.
Thank you. Good evening.
My name is Sarah Gibson, SarahGibson. I live at 73 Tremont Street. I would echo what many of my neighbors on Tremont Street have already said. I guess I'd like to make one or two additional points. One is, I think that earlier this evening, when we were listening to the discussion about the restaurant at 1030 Mass Ave, I was struck by how much interaction there had been between the owner of that business and the community. And I would say there's been very little of that in this case. I also find it somewhat stunning that the operator of this business would propose amplifying music after 11 o'clock. I think it's sort of completely obvious that a neighborhood would not be in favor of that. And I think it shows some sort of common disregard for common sense courtesy of neighbors. And finally, I would hope that this is a case in which the commission would listen to whether the neighbors want this business among them. If this were a restaurant serving alcohol, I might well be in favor of it, but this is clearly a restaurant masquerading as a bar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ashley Mateus, ASHLEYMATEUS.
Speak up, please.
Sorry, did you hear the last part? Do you want me to repeat?
Come on over.
I
don't have to ask you again.
Ashley Mateus?
Got it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I'm here to express my concerns. I live on Tremont Street along with many of my neighbors. My biggest concern, I actually wasn't sure I was going to speak, was when he said at 11 a.m. amplifying noise. That would actually be a very big problem for me living near that. I'm also worried about the noise when people leave at 2 a.m. So I would encourage you not to allow a 2 a.m. closing, and also not to allow amplification of the music. And besides that, I say ditto to my neighbors and also to my husband, who's probably speaking next. So. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jaime Mateus, Jaime-Mateus. I'm also a resident at Tremont Street. I'm not an immediate abutter, but I guess I'm an abutter to the abutter. We've received no notice of this, which I think is not a good way to start this conversation, or lack of conversation. Especially with someone that has had a lot of experience in this industry, it's surprising that they don't have more of a desire to engage with the local community. I understand there might have been a meeting earlier yesterday, which I found out through social media. So, 8 hours notice the day before the hearing, quite honestly, it just doesn't cut it. My main concerns are really the noise and the closing time. As some of the residents, as some of you have heard, there's two parts to the noise problem. One is noise coming from inside the pub, and the fact that there are large windows throughout the Tremont side and the Cambridge Street side of that building. Maybe there is a plan to cover those up. Again, we have not been informed, so it's hard for me to assess that. And secondly is the noise when people come out of that pub. As has been mentioned before, look at the Pheonix Landing as a case study and ask the residents who live around Pheonix Landing how they like 2 o'clock in the mornings. And I've been there 2 o'clock in the morning. It is noisy. So what measures has the applicant taken to reduce the noise around the Pheonix Landing in a similar situation? I think it's a really hard, it's a really hard task to manage. We are entirely opposed to the 2 a.m. closing time. It'll be one of the few bars in the area that has a 2 a.m. closing time, which means that whenever places close at 11, midnight, or 1, the 2 a.m. bars are going to have more and more people. And we're also entirely against any noise above conversational level. Again, that building is not well insulated. Noise is going to be coming out into the streets, and I think there is no need for an entertainment license that allows that type of noise. Also, I was looking through the alcohol rules and regulations of the Cambridge Licensing Commission as on the website, and on page 26 it says, as a result of a special meeting, that the commission voted 3-0 to continue the same policy as currently stands, which allows no new 2 a.m. licenses. So maybe there's something that has changed since this is the latest I could find. So I think that's a pretty strong, it seems like those are the regulations here. Finally, in reviewing the materials that the applicant has submitted for this, there are several sections that ask questions along the lines of, has any license held by you ever been revoked, suspended, or otherwise subject to disciplinary action? In all those cases, the no box is ticked. And given what we've heard in favor of the applicant, it seems like he has a very good track record. But I'd just like to point out that, it's not a perfect track record. If we look at the Madrimore Incorporated doing businesses and Tuanua, which is also formerly owned by the applicant, licensed premise violations hearing from the licensing board, City of Boston, patrons blocking sidewalk and obstructing traffic. Some patrons had alcoholic beverages in violation of certain statute, and there's 2012. There's other minor violations which have. Can I?
I have to come over there.
I'm
This is
sorry.
Boston. This is not Cambridge.
You can direct your concerns afterwards to me, but I'd like to let you finish first.
This may be Boston or Cambridge is still a venue that was owned by the same applicant, and if we're looking at that person's track record and history in this line of business, I think it is entirely relevant. And I have a series of other more minor violations that I'd be happy to hand this. Can I finish talking?
Again, excuse me.
And I'd be happy to hand these to the commission, but I think those summarize my concern. One, it's not a good place to start when you don't engage the community, or at least a lot of us feel like we haven't been engaged, and we might be a lot more favorable to the idea. I love the Druids, for example. I think it's a great place. I don't think we need to be open until 2 a.m., but that lack of communication probably doesn't help this. No entertainment above
Good evening. My name is Stephen, S-T-E-V-E-N, Halpern, H-A-L-P-E-R-N. I've lived at 73 Tremont Street since 1980. I've submitted a letter outlining my major concerns. There's only one thing I would like to emphasize, and that is that this is a change of a neighborhood in the area east of Prospect Street. Inman Square west of Prospect Street has many bars, places that focus largely on the serving of alcohol. It also has many restaurants that also serve alcohol. There's no shortage of alcohol in the area. The area east of Prospect Street has been served almost entirely for the last 25 years, 20 some odd years, by restaurants. Even though some of those restaurants have bars in them, they've all been focused on food. When you look at those plans for this restaurant, it's quite clear that the focus is meant to be on the bar and on the sale of alcohol. There's very few seats that are table level, meant for sitting and having family dining. And that is a change for this area. It brings in people who are looking to drink alcohol in an area where I think is much more appropriate to come for dining. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Erin, E-R-I-N, Hart, H-A-R-T. I am at 87 Tremont. So I am not technically in a butter, but I am the closest non-abutter according to the assessor's office. I went there and checked. So I actually met with Kevin yesterday, and actually Olivia had also, and I believe one other resident, I believe your husband.
Yeah, Tim.
Yes, yes, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize his name. Met with him. We were able to actually see the plans, which most of the residents have not seen it. I am not opposed to it, by any means. I have 2 young children. Yes, there is a daycare in the neighborhood now. It's gone by 5 o'clock. It's a very nice addition. The fixtures are nice. He has a track record of being a responsible owner. I'm not sure if the Pheonix has had violations. I did not look at that. From what I spoke to, and I feel there is a need for it. Gastropub would fit well. Being able to go in and get dinner and have a decent drink and maybe actually watch a game that's not cricket. Other than that, basically, I have nothing else to add, basically. So, and also, actually, the 1 a.m., sorry. I am opposed to a 2 a.m. right off the bat. That being said, maybe a 6-month review after we all kind of get a feel of what goes on and how everything runs, and then maybe after 6 months we come back and review whether we want to give them a 2 a.m. I think that may be a fair way to take care of the 1 a.m., 2 a.m. thing, because there are a few that do have 2 a.m. I believe it's, as everyone said, Druid, Bukowski's, and the next one I believe is Atwood's, which is much further down on the other side. So, thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Ian Moody, I-A-N-D-O-O-D-Y.
Can you say your last name again?
D-O-O-D-Y, Doody.
D-O-O-D-Y?
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm a resident in Cambridge on 33 Lee Street. I frequent bars and restaurants in the Cambridge area, Inman Square specifically. I think there's a gap in the market for it. I work in the bar industry. I can't go out for food or drinks after work to actually eat normal food and eating takeaways, and it'd be nice to have somewhere in the area you could go and actually enjoy your evening after finishing a shift of work. The thoughts of the bar, I heard a lot of residents complaining about the ideas of the nightclub. I don't know if they've actually seen the plans. I've seen the plans of the bar. It's a restaurant. The bar itself is only 16 seated. It remains a 56 seated restaurant, as opposed to that. It's not a stand-up bar like the Pheonix Landing. That's a full capacity nightclub. It's not going the same route as that, as far as I can see by the plans, and I think it'll be a great addition to the neighbourhood.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to be heard in this matter? Seeing none?
Madam Chairman, Commissioners, I totally understand the neighbourhood's concerns. I would ask them to go visit my last restaurant that I opened. It's called The Merchant. It's in downtown Crossing. It's right beside the Filene's building. I'd like to get their emails address that I can have a list here. I'll send them out these plans. I didn't realise there was so much opposition until I talked to Erin, and she sent out an email yesterday, and I tried to meet the neighbours, and 3 people turned up, which was short notice, I know, but I didn't realise there was so many neighbours against this. It's an existing bar, restaurant that I'm taking over. It was at 1 o'clock. I believe my track record of 25 years in the business, I've experienced everything in the business. The new bar I've opened is more in line of what I'm trying to do here, and I'd invite them to come down, and I'd be happy to meet them and to see what we are planning to do in this new location, is what we have done in the Merchant. Our sales down there is 50% alcohol, 50% foods. So we are a restaurant serving alcohol. It's a 281 capacity downtown Crossing. It's the same designer. There's 72 seats. Someone said regarding seating. I don't know whether you sit up top or bottom. It doesn't really matter for kids. We will definitely be looking for families to come in here to eat. Other concerns, I'd be happy to, whatever the concerns, I'd love to get their emails, take them down to the Merchant and show them what we've done down there. This is the idea of what we're going to try to do here. I think there's an opening in Inman Square for a place that's as nice as this, and it's needed. And
I think just with regard to the 1 a.m. versus 2 a.m. opening, I think we are amenable to the idea of initially going forward on the 1 a.m. with a 6-month revisit on the 2 a.m. because I do believe, I do understand the concerns of the abutters and the people in the community. So that would be something we'd be willing to explore.
Maybe we'll talk about the issue about the entertainment, if you want to.
yeah, well, I can live with entertainment at conversation level. That's fine. If that's a real issue, I don't see why it would be, because we're doing all new construction. There won't be any sound emanating out onto the street.
I think it would be helpful. I don't feel like I can necessarily speak for the neighbors. Maybe I can get like a nod of a head or something, but I would like to think that the neighbors would probably appreciate or welcome the opportunity to sit down with you and at least hear a little bit more about your proposal and look at the drawings prior to a board vote.
Yeah.
Thoughts, questions?
So you're moving the bar area, is the kitchen area getting moved, or is that?
No, the kitchen stays the exact same. We can't move that at all.
And you're doing what, a full renovation of the kitchen?
It'll be, well, actually, most of the kitchen's okay, except for the line. We plan, let's see. This kitchen here, this would be a totally new line.
Okay.
And this is going to open up, and this is where the servers would pick up the food, and then this is glass here, where people are seating, and then they'll bring the food through here.
So most of that is already constructed a little bit?
This is all stand on this.
Okay.
This line actually is pretty perfect, so it hasn't been used too much, so I can use all that. it's got the answer system, just need to get the inspections.
So typically, I do prefer the applicant to talk to me. It may be helpful maybe if you turn it so
Oh, sorry,
the
yeah.
neighbors could see it as well.
Oh, so the plan is, this is Cambridge Street, and I believe this is Tremont Street. The new entrance would go here, and we would put the bar on Tremont Street, and we're going to close up these windows with this awnings. Let me see. Can you hold that? So this is what the front of the actual restaurant would look like, which is a vast improvement of what we're having. This would be the main entrance. We have to keep this entrance because that's the handicapped accessibility. We would open these 3 windows, sash windows, that open up, and of course they would close at night. And we're putting in a new sign, and this crown molding is already there, which we plan to paint over in black. And I can email out these plans to everyone if you give me your email before you leave. And the materials they're going to use are all here as well. I can send you that. There is a main bar of 16 people. But this is what a modern gastro pub is. We're not looking to... I know some people are questioning my integrity a wee bit, which I don't take offence, but I'd ask you to come down to the merchant and see what I've done down there. This is what I want to do here. It's a nice place, and we're going to spend a lot of money renovating it, and I don't know if you've seen it. I would be very happy to send out an email to everyone that's concerned, and anyone else in the neighbourhood. Yes?
Can I make one more comment? I actually meant to say.
If you could identify yourself.
Yeah, it's Olivia Peters at 93 Mott Street. I did actually want to say I really appreciated that he had made plans to move the entrance to this location, because currently the way that the building is, the entrance is into the weird little side room, and it's confusing, and it's people can't find the entrance to Hit Wicket. So being willing to put in kind of the capital to actually make the physical improvement to the building.
Well, that was the
was
first.
meaningful.
That's a great point, because you should be a designer as well. Because the first thing my designer said was, you have to move the entrance and make them bigger room. Because when you went into Hit Wicket, they had a small bar on the left side which had 5 or 6 people, and then you walk around the corner and there was this big open room and no one in it. It was very badly designed. The first thing we're doing is making the main room would be the bar area, and then where the actual bar would be, where it's that 22-seater we can use for private parties, hopefully. So this was where the bar is, and this is the entrance right now. And then you'd walk around here, and there's a load of booths. I don't know if you're familiar, but it looked very ugly. So the plan is to come in here, and this would be the main attraction. And we are certainly into serving food to closing time every night. You know, it's not what some people have suggested. And I'll be happy to send them out to everyone. Tim, do you have please leave me your email if you can before you leave, and I'll send it out to you tomorrow.
Again, if you could please say your name for the
Yeah,
record, please.
Jean Garrison, 71 Tremont Street. You seemed to be suggesting that the approval might be deferred to another hearing so that the neighbors could have a chance to meet with Mr. Traynor under better circumstances and discuss the plans. I think one of our problems is that we had such short notice in the neighborhood for this hearing. Didn't find out about it generally until all late last week, and so maybe some of the sense of opposition and hostility that Mr. Traynor feels coming from us is more a question of our being taken quite by surprise. And knowing that he was associated with Pheonix Landing, sadly I'm a little too old for such a place these days. The contrast between what goes on at Pheonix Landing and a bunch of not very many people sitting around watching cricket or doing wine and painting parties, which was another thing they tried in that location. I just am afraid about noise. I think we would be happy to have some reassurance and then come back.
Thank you.
I'd just like to say regarding the Pheonix Landing, we've been there 20 years and we've had very, very, very little trouble there at all. And we've been a beacon of the community, I think, so I really want to stand up for the Pheonix Landing and what it stands for. A lot of charities we've helped out over the years. And if this is not the Pheonix Landing that I'm trying to build, it'd be more towards the merchant.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner?
Yes.
Could
Again,
the applicant clarify?
Your name again for
Ashley
the record.
Serrata, 84 Tremont Street. Could the applicant clarify if the merchant has an entertainment license and does live music or live DJ music? I think the difference is the Pheonix Landing, which I used to be a patron of in my younger days too. But it's not, it doesn't have the residential right next to it. It is almost right next to the T stop. And this is, to get from Inman Square to the T, you have to walk through our street. It's a completely different setup in terms of the entertainment license specifically. Same thing with Downtown Crossing. Those are great locations for an entertainment license. Inman, our street corner is not a good location for an entertainment license. And I can candidly say that I will continue to increase my support of the gastro pub, but I don't think a meeting is going to change my support of an entertainment license above conversation level.
As I say, I'm actually a building owner in that community, so I know the community, and I'm not going to build.
It's the wrong location for an entertainment license.
Okay.
Okay. You can coordinate.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
All set.
No other questions?
I'd like to make a motion that we continue this until the decision hearing, which is later on in the month, to give you an opportunity to meet with the neighbors, address their concerns that they have, and perhaps you may decide, you may not decide that you want to change as it relates to entertainment or your closing time. But I'd like to at least have an opportunity for you to have a meeting with the neighbors.
I have no problem with that.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you everyone for
Thank
coming
you.
in.